only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Ask not what your country can do for you.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Hey, welcome to another episode of For the Republic. We are your hosts, Brittany and Nico Fideli.
Shouldn't you say your name first?
I did, didn't I?
No, you said Brittany and Nico.
Oh,
Since
I've
you're
done that.
saying it,
I've
it should
done that
be
a
Nico
couple
and
of
Brittany,
times.
right?
Yeah, I've done that a couple times, actually. And you know, it's funny. I always start out every episode like going like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
like welcome. And I always have to add stuff that I'm saying, like for the intro, because that logo at the end where it like fades out is always longer than I anticipate. Always.
Oh, because you always jump in before
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
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 And so I'm like, hey, and I'm like, oh, it's still there, so I have to like make up stuff to say.
Yeah.
Where
But you should just keep saying hey until
Yeah.
it goes like,
Hey,
hey.
You know, you would-
hey. It reminds me of like
Fat
I
Albert?
never watched it.
Hey.
Yeah, I never watched it, but that's always what it reminds me of because I've heard so many people like say it over the
Yeah.
years. But
I'm
going
gonna
to
say something controversial right now
Oh.
because we talked about Fat Albert. I still love Bill Cosby's comedy.
I thought you were gonna say I still love fat people, and I was gonna say I'm really happy about that. Good times.
I love fat people. I love
Yeah.
skinny people.
We
Anything
just
in,
love all people.
anything in between. I'm in between that.
It's really difficult to love liberals, but we love them too.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about some liberal views today.
Yikes.
Dude, it's like
Speaking of today,
today, Happy Mother's Day.
thank you.
Yeah. We have a new
My
mom
first.
here. You know,
Well, first.
it's gonna be weird because like I'm gonna have to like say Happy Mother's Day to you, and you're gonna have to say Happy Father's Day to me.
Yeah.
It's like something another date to remember, man.
Yeah, I'm
You know-
like I didn't even think about the fact that it was gonna be like our first until like a couple like a few days ago. I was just like, wow, actually, like get to celebrate Mother's Day as a mom this year.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yep.
Who would have seen that coming
Who'd have
last
seen
Mother's
that
Day?
coming? Yeah. Yeah, we didn't. We sure didn't.
No.
No, well, not for lack of trying. Hey.
Hey.
Gotta keep it PG though. I was gonna say something.
hold your
Oh,
kids'
yeah.
ears.
Yeah, you know, like I always, you know, like the stereotypical like you see in sitcoms and comedy movies where like the man always forgets like anniversary dates, birthdays, and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
I always used to like not have any sympathy for them, but now like I have another date to remember. I'm all about that life. It's tough. There was something I was filling out the benefits for my job, like for insurance and everything, and then it said your spouse's date of birth, and I was like, oh yeah. Like I had to go deep in the memory banks.
No, I do the same thing though sometimes because I forget like you're so young, and now just think about the year for like a minute and be like, is it really that year? Because like it seems like so much farther away than mine is. Like
Yeah.
like it's so funny. So then like I'll think about it for a minute. I'll be like, oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
That's it. That's gotta be it.
He is that young. Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh, so good times.
I'm gonna be 29 this year. That's crazy to me. You're gonna be
Yeah,
34.
34.
You're gonna be 34.
Yep. Yes, I did have to think about that.
Yep.
I often have to think about my age. In fact, I'm so bad at remembering how old I am. Just about every time someone asks me how old I am, I'll look at you and I'll say, "How old am I again?"
Yeah.
Because I always forget, which is really sad.
Yeah. When
Yeah.
you turn 34, you'll be older than Jesus and accomplished a lot
Well,
less.
older
How do you
than
feel about that?
older than Jesus's earthly body. I can't say I'm older than Jesus because Jesus has been around for
Eternity.
eternity.
Yeah.
So I'm not that old, although you might think so. I'm not. Oh, it's the bags under my eyes that give it away.
Yeah. I think, especially
It's
since
the lack of sleep.
yeah, since we've been parents,
Mhm.
the bags.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, speaking of bags, don't forget to like.
Oh yeah. What does that have to do with bags?
I don't know. I think I was calling us bags, maybe.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you can be notified every Sunday night at 7 p.m. when a new episode drops.
If this has been entertaining to you. If not, we understand.
We're going to go on and be like, man, we lost 5 subscribers this week. Took us so long to get those guys. Yeah. It's funny because the other day my mom said something. I got into this debate, actually, which pertained to our last episode, but I got into like a little bit of like not really a debate. It was a response to someone on Facebook about the abortion issue that's been circulating this week, because we kind of we predicted the future or something.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened. We were like on top of it, but I was telling my mom about it, and she's like, "You should get into politics." And I said, "Mom, we have a Christian conservative podcast with 35 followers. We basically are in politics."
Oh yeah.
And she was like, "Okay."
Yes, we are. We are. We're in it.
Yeah. So.
Yep. We're right up there with those guys at the front lines.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we're basically Steven Crowder at this point.
Tim Pool, running around with cameras, and
I don't know who Tim Pool is, so like I feel like
Tim Pool,
we're on the same line as him. Then.
He's pretty popular. He's very popular.
I'm just kidding.
He's like a centrist, right leaning. But he's like the guy that does when whatchamacallit, the in Seattle, Portland, or was it Portland, that had the autonomous zone, or was it Portland?
Yes.
No, it was Washington. Somewhere in Washington. Was it Seattle? No, it wasn't Seattle.
Gosh, I don't remember. Are you sure it wasn't Portland?
Maybe it was Portland.
I don't remember. My goodness, it's been so long.
Anyways, Tim Pool
It's
is
been like a whole year or something.
Tim Pool's the guy that like went in and like filming everything.
Oh yeah. Or the one that they were chasing off. They're like, get that guy out of here.
Yeah, him and there was another guy, Chris Schaefer, something like that.
Their zone was like so ideal. It was like such the ideal environment that they didn't want anyone filming it.
Yeah. But
anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Tim Pool has had some like left leaning ideas, but he's been ostracized by the left party because he talks to people on the right and the left.
I honestly can't wait for the day that Ben Shapiro's like, "Hey, we want to bring your podcast onto the Daily Wire," and I just have to be like, "Listen, Ben, you're not going to ride on the coattails of our fame."
Yeah. Well, before we move on, we just want to wish everybody out there who is a mom happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to try to make it a short episode just for you.
Yeah, so you can get out of here and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah. I'm gonna say like, "Hi Mom," like people do when they're on TV.
Hey, Mom.
Hi Mom, happy Mother's Day.
Yeah. Happy Mother's Day. Is there something you wanna share about your mom?
Dude, my mom is like the legit best mom. So she gives me some big shoes to fill. She's unconditionally always been there for me, and I think that's what motherhood is supposed to be all about. And she has far exceeded the expectations of that and continues to do so regularly.
Yeah, I'd say both.
I love her very much.
Both of our moms are on the top of the spectrum when it comes to expectations in the 21st century for a mom.
So what we have to say is, our mom is better than your mom, huh?
Yeah.
Like that when you were kids. Did you ever do the "my dad can beat up your dad" thing? Like with some kid gets scrappy with you, and you'd be like, "My dad can beat up your dad."
My dad always had some physical ailments, so I never said that to anybody because I didn't want my dad to get hurt.
You're like, "Don't, Dad, you're gonna throw out your knee."
Exactly.
That's funny.
Yeah. But yeah, so I feel like both of our moms, if I can speak for both of us, both of our moms have instilled in us what we are going to apply to Adelaide. I think we learned a lot from our moms, so I feel like if Adelaide turns out to be any sort of okay, then we can owe it to our moms. So.
Yeah. Yep. It's good.
Yeah.
I hope she one day grows to love her mom as much as I love mine.
Yeah.
It's not to say my mom's not weird.
Yeah. I mean, I think
her quirks.
Both of our moms have our quirks. My mom's starting to send cards in the mail with stickers on them.
And underlining things.
Stuff. And if one thing that my grandma would always do when she sent out cards was she would, like, if the words didn't apply,
She'd cross it
she
out.
would cross it off. So like if it was like to you, or if and it was supposed to be we or something like that, she would like just cross it off. And
I remember getting a card from her like pretty early on in our marriage, and it was supposed to just be to one person, said to you, and so she kept putting you too. Like TWO to like so that it's for both of us.
That's exactly
I remember like laughing, and then like the first time I saw your mom do that, I just laughed so hard. And like so your mom's underlining things and putting stickers and cards, and my mom is asking us to turn off the lights to save electricity.
Yeah.
So there you go. there's our mom's quirks.
Yeah, mom's quirks. So if your mom has any quirks, if you want to say something good and something funny about your mom,
drop a
it in a comment.
Tell us how cool your mom is.
Yeah.
Wish her happy Mother's Day.
Yep.
And then have her subscribe so that she can see the comment.
Yeah. Yep.
There's no ulterior motive for her subscribing.
No. Yeah, it's all
It's just
genuine.
to see the comment.
Genuine.
Yeah. So what's been going on this week?
Oh, man.
It's been a poop storm out there.
If you don't know what's going on, then, oh boy. I would like to live where you live, because if you could stay that far underground, you're probably somewhere safe.
You should build a bomb shelter to avoid news.
Yep.
On those crazy weeks.
So, I would say, it's been a roller coaster of emotions this last week. What's been going on in the news, if you're thinking about what's been going on. So, kind of to sum up, we have a leak from the Supreme Court of the United States, a leaked opinion that was drafted by our Supreme Justices, and that opinion seemed to have had a vote of 5-4 that Roe v. Wade was to be overturned because it was unconstitutional, and that the decision on Roe v. Wade was the wrong decision. So,
which it was.
Yes.
Constitutionally.
Yeah, constitutionally, we definitely agree with that. I mean, like, you don't even have to talk about necessarily the issue of abortion to have this conversation.
Which is why I don't understand why all of these people have been freaking out all week. Like, oh my gosh, white men are trying to take away our rights to abort our babies and blah, blah, blah. Like, first off, bro, that's not what's happening. Second off,
even though I'm pretty sure it was a black man and a woman who voted.
Right. So, and like,
favor.
In the case that this actually does happen, because it has not yet happened, but in the case that this does happen, the overturning of Roe v. Wade does not change the legality of abortion in your state.
Yeah.
Your state has legislation, and they should be the ones in charge of whether or not abortion is legal in your state. Of course, we think that abortion should not be illegal in any state, but the fact of the matter is there will be liberal states like New York and California who always go to the extreme and are like, you can abort a baby up until it's 5. If you decide by the time it goes to kindergarten that you don't like it, you can abort it.
Yeah.
Or something, because it's friggin' New York and California.
So everything that like
Can you say friggin'?
Friggin', yeah. You can say friggin'.
Is that legal?
Friggin', yeah. Yeah. So like what is exactly does this mean? I think there's good news and there's bad news. Obviously, the good news is that the 9 that we have, at least the majority of them, have a constitutional viewpoint on Roe versus Wade. So like that's the good news. The bad news is that something like this is unprecedented.
Or you mean like the bad news is that 4 of them don't follow the Constitution? Like literally your job as a Supreme Court justice is to uphold the Constitution. Your only job is to uphold the Constitution. And
I would say that
4 of them
I would
are
say
not doing it.
That's
the bad news.
That's also bad news. But I feel like worse news is that this is now another thing that's unprecedented. Literally a leak like this has never ever happened in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So and literally, I don't know if we know exactly who leaked this at the time that we're filming this, but last time I checked, we don't. So most likely this had to have been something like an inside job, like a clerk who either went rogue, or even worse, a clerk that was acting for a justice to leak this. And you might have heard some opinions on why this has been leaked. I think I can only speak for myself because we didn't actually have this conversation, but I personally think that the main reason why this was leaked was to try to sway the conservative justice to change their mind, because it would have created this stir that we have this past week.
Right.
I think a subsequent, like a minor reason why that this was leaked was also so that Democrats who control the House and the Senate could try to pass legislation to stop it or to ensure that abortion is the law of the land, if you will.
Yep.
I
agree with you. That was my like you know me and my conspiracy theories and stuff, but like that was my suspicion from the beginning. I am 100% suspicious that one of the 4 justices who refused to uphold the Constitution as it is written leaked this information.
A lot of people are saying it might have been the new one.
That would not surprise me because, and I'm not gonna. Okay, so.
Well, I mean, you can just speak on her record. I mean, like
her record is very unconstitutional, and like that was one of the objections that most Republicans had to her being elected, was the fact that first off, the only reason she was nominated is because she's a black woman, and that is unfortunate because there are a lot of other qualified people out there, even probably far more qualified black women out there than her. But her record is very anti-constitutional. There's many cases where she has refused to uphold the law because she does not agree with it, and that is not what you want on the Supreme Court. It's not why the Supreme Court is there. And they're not there to make their opinions
not to go off
known.
on too much of a tangent, but it wasn't even like petty stuff. Like we're talking about like rape.
Right.
Like there was rapists that served like a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th of their sentence.
Right. And you have Kamala Harris, who literally left people in jail to improve her record, and then now we have a Supreme Court justice who has let people off to because of her opinion and not upholding the law. So regardless, though, I would not be surprised if it was the new justice, but my personal opinion is that it was most likely leaked by a justice through their clerk or whatever, in order to cause an uprising of people protesting, people throwing fits, people doing all of this, so that it would in hopes to sway one of the 5 that is upholding the Constitution into not doing so. So that's my personal opinion. And honestly, I don't really understand why. Okay, I do understand why liberals are so upset about it, why they're throwing such a big fit about it, because they don't understand how the Constitution works. And that's the problem, is they don't understand the law. They don't understand what actually overturning Roe versus Wade does. They think it's going to ban abortion across the United States, and it's like, that's not. Right. And I would love it if that's what happened, but that's not what's happening.
You can almost say, like, on the flip side too, that like conservatives, the way they're responding also is like, okay, so we are as pro-life as any of you out there, if not more. We could probably, me personally, I would be called an extremist of how pro-life I am. Like, me personally, it doesn't matter if the life of the mother is in jeopardy. Like, we live in 2022. Like, that is probably like 1 in a billion chance that the mother is probably gonna
pretty
die.
much doesn't exist.
Yeah, it pretty much doesn't exist. So like, even the health of the mother, like, I'm still against abortion, and I understand that there's people who would question that, and I think that's a valid opinion. But anyways, what I'm saying is that pro-lifers should not be jumping up and down excited that this opinion came out as far as the issue of abortion, right? Because the issue of abortion, this probably isn't going to change much,
right.
So
it doesn't. It literally just kicks it back to the state, which is where it should have been the whole time.
What we can get excited about, though, is that our system, quote unquote, is still working, right? So we on this, as long as the justices stay true to their decision,
right?
If this leak doesn't sway them, then we can at least say that our system is working the way that it's intended. And what do I mean by that? We have a federalist system that was set up. We have 2 forms of government. We have a local government, and then we have a federal government. And anything that isn't provided in the Constitution, the federal government should not be able to touch.
Right.
That's all delegated to the states. So if it's not physically written in the Constitution, then the federal government has no say in it.
Right.
And the justices are saying that, there's nothing written in the Constitution about abortion. The privacy thing that Roe versus Wade finally came to a decision was a stretch, was to say the least, if not even applicable.
Right. And the fact that it's stayed for the last 2 decades is remarkably
Yeah.
more than that. It's incredible. The
Yeah.
fact that like this hasn't been overturned.
Yeah. And
I just realized that it's 2022 and it's been more than 2 decades.
yeah, is that what you just said? 2
I
decades?
just said 2 decades, and then I'm like, wait a minute.
No, it's been almost a half a
freaking
century.
2022, man.
It's been 50 years.
I forget how old I am.
I think it was 1973, so it's almost been 50 years.
Wow.
So
I don't know, for a while, for like a moment there, I was still living in 2000, baby. I was waiting
2000.
to power off my computer at midnight.
1999.
Oh yeah,
Y2K.
that's exactly it.
Yeah. So and it's I kind of trailed off on my train of thought there. But basically
The Constitution or the federal government does not have the right to interfere.
Yeah. So what can we expect if Roe v. Wade gets overturned? What we can expect, I think, is that blue states are going to become bluer and red states are going to become redder. It's if
With
any
the blood of liberals. I'm just kidding.
if anything, this is gonna allow states that want to restrict abortion to actually be able to without repercussions.
Mhm.
Like that's gonna be
Yeah, and here's the crazy thing is like people are like acting like this is just this massive craziness. Like like liberals on there like, oh my gosh, now Roshonda is not going to be able to access good health care in her state. Well, if Roshonda doesn't like living in, say, Alabama or Florida or Tennessee, tell Roshonda to move to New York where she can do whatever she wants to until the child is graduating high school. Like, I don't understand. Like,
take a machete to it at 3 years old.
yeah, like I mean, like that's what they act like. They're like they act like we live like in this isolated place where there's no human rights or something. Like there are 50 states in the United States. 50. That means there are 50 places where you could go at any time. You don't have to get a passport. You don't have to get a what's that called when people move to somewhere and they get like a
visa?
A visa. You don't have to get a visa. You don't have to get a working grant or
next
whatever.
year you
that's
will
called.
have to have a passport to fly.
You
or
will not have to get a single document to move from one state or the other. So if you don't like the state legislation where you live, you can do 2 things. You can get involved in government and advocate for the things that you care about, or you can move your butt to a different state because there's like 50 of them to choose from. And I can't imagine that there's not like one of them that you might agree with the politics of more so than the others.
Yeah. And like we
or move to Canada.
That
I'd
article,
prefer that if you if you want to kill babies.
Mexico.
I'd prefer you move to Canada or Mexico or Venezuela
or China.
Or China.
You know,
yeah, why don't you just go to China?
We have more abortions than China, so
go to China.
And North Korea. We're like it's funny because the top 3 countries for abortions is China, North Korea, United States.
Yeah, it was crazy because I've seen so many people say this week, well, there are people who don't have access to birth control. Where?
Who doesn't have access to birth control?
Where is it that you have access to an abortion that you don't have access to birth control? Because the last time I checked, if you're going to an abortion clinic, most of them give out contraceptives.
Yeah.
Most of them give out contraceptives for free. So you could go to that same abortion clinic and get your dang contraceptives before you get pregnant.
The Planned Parenthood that near where I work, they have condoms literally on the counter. Like you can come in and just grab condoms.
But and the thing is, like, even there's
complimentary peanuts.
Right? There's like school districts that have been handing out contraceptives. I mean, like you can pretty much get them like anywhere. You can. And if I'm not mistaken, you can order some of them online. Like it's so easy to obtain birth control in the U.S. And I've seen so many people say, "Oh, you don't have access to birth control." If you have access to an abortion clinic, you have access to birth control.
But remember, these are the same people that say voter ID is racist because black people can't use the internet.
They can't find the DMV.
Can't find the DMV.
Did you ever see that video where the guy is like literally interviewing black people on the street? He's like, "Do you know where the DMV is?" And the person's like, the people are like, "Yeah." And he's like, well, how does it make you feel that people think you don't have access to it? And they're like, "What?" It's like hilarious. Like they just like, I just don't understand it. That argument is so asinine. It's so ridiculous.
But
they don't have access to birth control.
But
you know what access to birth control you have? Because I had the same access to birth control my whole entire life until I got married. It's called put a bottle of aspirin between your legs and keep it there. You know, that's that
what
old
is
saying.
that?
It's saying like you hold it between your knees and then your legs aren't spread.
Oh.
That's abstinence.
How are you supposed to walk with a bottle of aspirin in between your legs?
It's not literal.
Oh.
It's supposed to be a joke. It's supposed to be a joke that like
imagine there's a bottle of aspirin
like
there.
hold a bottle of aspirin between your legs because it'll keep you from opening them.
I'm starting to realize why that one didn't stick and why not. I don't know about that one.
That's probably one
lame.
of those country sayings that like I say to you all the time, and you're like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah. But anyways, to bounce off of your point that you're talking about, it was that article last week about that we talked about the real face of abortion or whatever, and there was like one of the pictures that showed this chick on a plane saying that she had to travel to get an abortion, and it's like that to me is like the perfect example of how good we have it in this country. That like if you want access to anything, like pretty much anybody can just get on a plane and go do it.
A plane, a train,
You know what I mean?
a bus.
Yeah.
You can get on a stinking Greyhound. You don't have a license.
Yeah.
You don't have a bicycle that you can literally bicycle across the state line. Then you can get on a plane, a train, a bus. You can rent a cab. You can get an Uber.
But that's just
you
how
could ask your best friend for a ride.
That's how
'cause it's
spoiled we are.
Stinking America, where you're pretty
Yeah.
much free to go anywhere you want to in this country without any sort of restriction.
But that's how spoiled we are, is that like I'm not saying that abortion should be easily accessed, but I'm saying that there are people in other countries who would quote unquote want an abortion for convenience and it would not be accessible to them. And like everything is accessible to everybody in this country. And like it to me, like, and you can't even say, oh, well, there's people who are living in poverty who would not be able to afford to have a kid. Like, it doesn't cost you anything to have a kid when you like, even if like,
that was the other argument is like, oh, this is the only country that's going to force you to have a child and charge you like medical expenses to do so. And then people are like, in Sweden, you don't even have to pay medical expenses. You get to have your baby for free, and then they pay you a monthly stipend for having that baby. I'm like, aren't the taxes in Sweden like 75%? Like, I mean, they're extreme. Like, the taxes in Sweden are so expensive because
all of those European countries.
But like Sweden in particular, everything is free. Like college and like there's certain stipends for like owning a car and and like having like property or I don't know. There's all kinds of free stuff in Sweden, and their taxes are literally through the roof. Like it's absolutely asinine. So you have these people who are like, oh, I can't stand paying taxes. Taxes are so high. Our tax dollars aren't doing anything. But also, we shouldn't have to pay medical bills in the U.S. Well, thank you for that insight, Mr. Smarty Pants. How are you going to pay your medical bills without those taxes or without insurance or without paying them yourself? Like, there's no like free option. It's not
You got a lot of fire
it's not
today.
like a doctor's just going to like, oh, you know what? Let me just take care of all of your medical stuff for free because I don't need to pay my bills. Like, of course, they're going to charge you. What kind of stupidity is that?
But
Freaking free medical care, free everything. They should pay me to have a baby. Oh my gosh.
well, we didn't have to pay a dime for our baby
I wish
we live in a state where you get
We had a couple bills, but
yeah,
it was pretty
well,
minimal.
not minuscule. Yeah, we had pretty much all expenses paid. Health insurance because of the state we live in. So.
Interestingly enough, the doctors coming into the room after I had given birth to ask me how I was doing costs $180 for a visit.
Nice.
Isn't that pretty interesting? When they just come in your room, they say, "How you doing?" And you say,
Hi there. How you doing?
Good.
Good.
Still alive. And then they say, "Well, okay. Someone will check on you
Lift
tomorrow."
up your arm of your baby. Yep, looks good.
Yeah. Someone will check on you tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. Costs $180 a pop.
Yeah. So coming back full circle.
Full circle. I get a little ranty, man.
Yeah, dude, you're
Someone got to calm me down.
you got a little fiery today.
I get very like not emotional isn't the right word, but like passionate, I guess, about like abortion because it's the most brutal practice in modern day, and the fact that it's legal and people argue
It's
and
literally the greatest genocide this world has ever seen.
it is. And the thing is like speaking from a Christian view, people think that like God's just up there like, oh, just kill those babies, it's fine.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
No.
No. If you think the U.S. is not going to have to answer for the millions of babies who have been aborted over the last several decades, you're out your dang mind. I mean, at one point, the abortions in America were over 1.2 million.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're significantly less, almost half of that now, with as much education as people have gotten. And the fact that most people now have easy access to contraceptives and sex education.
Imagine that.
Imagine.
Well, I think it also contributes to going back to last week's episode, which we have a lot of good points about abortion in last week's episode. If you guys are looking for tips on how to have a conversation with someone who is pro-choice and pro-abortion, but to kind of bounce off what we were talking about last week, the fact that abortions have dropped in the last couple decades speaks to the amount of scientific advancement that we have, right? So like you even go back 20 years, our parents were saying the same thing to us. They're like, "Oh man, those ultrasounds look so great. Like those ultrasounds. I wish we could have saw you at like looking like that. You know what I mean?" And just like seeing the technology that's advanced has really, I think, opened a lot of people's eyes and realized that, wow, I can listen to my baby's heartbeat at 6 weeks.
Coincidentally, I don't know if you remember that movie that came out maybe like 3 years ago now. It was about the woman who actually worked for Planned Parenthood. She had like received an abortion and then she started working for Planned Parenthood.
The one we saw?
Yeah. I can't remember what the name of it is. Ugh. But she's like an activist now. She's a pro-life activist now. And one of the things that she was saying is that when you, and this obviously might not be the case for every Planned Parenthood by any means, but the Planned Parenthood that she worked at in particular, that they discouraged women from looking at the ultrasound or hearing the heartbeat of the baby if they were leaning towards an abortion. And she said like the reason that they do that is because they don't want to humanize the baby. So they want women to just think like it's just like a clump of cells.
Yeah.
Or what is it that people call as a zygote? Or whatever garbage people say.
I can't remember what the movie was, but yeah,
like I remember like the first time I ever saw Steven Crowder, he was doing like a spoof interview with her, and he was pretending to be liberal, and you were watching and you were laughing, and I was like, I do not understand why this is funny, because he was saying like the typical like liberal responses, and I was like, this guy's an idiot. What is so funny about this? Because like I didn't know who he was, so like I didn't realize it was like a comedy sketch. Yeah. And so it was like actually like now looking back at it, I'm like I find it funny because, you know, he's like he's being like ironic about it, like he's trying to like show how stupid the liberal argument is for abortion. But at the time I was like, this guy is so dumb. I do not understand what he's talking about.
That was the whole point.
Yeah.
I remember you were watching this and you're like, why do you think this is funny?
Yeah, I kept asking you.
And I was like, he's actually conservative.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh.
And then I still was like, now that I like understand Steven Crowder, I find it funny.
But that movie was pretty good.
Yeah, but that was one of the things where like I remember her like talking in an interview, like saying that they do as much as possible to dehumanize the fetus or dehumanize the baby, so that women don't back out, because a lot of women will back out after they've seen the baby or they've heard the heartbeat.
I can't remember what state. I can't remember what state it is, but there is a state, and there was like an abortionist. I don't know what you would call them. Murderers, I guess.
The doctor who does it? Yeah. That's what I would call them.
Anyways, so
Butcher?
there was this one doctor that was talking. It was an interview on the Daily Wire, and it's pretty graphic. Like, I don't recommend reading it unless you need some convincing.
Yeah.
But it was talking about the procedures that they do after a certain amount of weeks, like after 22 or 27 weeks or whatever it is.
Right.
Oh, this is telling me that my computer needs to update. Look at that.
Oh,
We'll remind me tomorrow.
Next week.
Next
Oh, look.
Anyways, so, and that he was saying that in his particular state, if the baby's far enough along, then they have to give an ultrasound and they have to have the mother listen to the heartbeat. And that is to let you know that you are killing a baby.
That should be the requirement in every state for
Yeah.
every. I mean, like, not that I don't think abortion should be legal at all. But if you're going to make abortion legal, that the person who is making the decision should have to see the child.
Yeah.
They should have to see, if you are willing to murder someone, you should have to look them in the eyes to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you
And
shouldn't
if you
be able
have
to
a-
just dehumanize them.
If you're listening or watching this and you have a problem with that, I just want you to have some self-reflection, because the reason why you have a problem with that is, yes, the point is to make the decision harder.
Right.
Because the reason why, literally the only reason why people have so many abortions is because it's easy and they don't have to think about it.
Right.
The minute you actually think about it, the minute that you actually realize what is going to happen, that's when it hits you. Yes, it's supposed to be difficult.
Right.
It's supposed to be traumatic, because it is a traumatic and an evil thing that's happening.
It is.
So,
And that, like, it was funny because, like, I was responding to somebody who I made a few, like, pro-life statements this week on Facebook, and you shared them, and somebody commented on it in response to you, and one of the things that they said was that like, Republicans put the life of the unborn child ahead of the life of the already living person. And, like, he was like, that's so crazy. And I'm like, that's not what pro-life
Right.
people or
No.
Republicans do. What we do is we equalize them.
Yeah.
The life of the person who is alive is just as important as the life of the person who's alive in the womb. Those lives are equally as important. We don't place one ahead of the other. It's not like babies are on a pedestal of, like, they deserve to live more than anybody else, which, I mean, arguably, because they're innocent and have done nothing wrong,
Yeah.
they probably do deserve to live more than anybody else alive. But we don't prioritize the life of the baby over the life of the mother. We equalize them.
Right.
They are both as important as the other.
And I think a lot of times why people who are pro-choice, especially like towards Christians, feel like that Christians put more emphasis on the unborn is because, like, that's our biblical obligation. Is we are commanded to fight for those who can't fight for themselves. And so, like, that's why, even if you're on the fence of whether or not abortion should really be illegal, which I don't, if you're a Christian, I don't know how you can be on the fence. But anyways, there are those who have that libertarian view where, if, like, okay, if somebody wants to choose to do that, then they can, which I don't justify. But even if you are in that boat, you should still be on the pro-life train, because literally the unborn can't advocate for themselves. So it is our job, it is our duty, it is our command to stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. So
Right. And let me just throw this out there. If you're pro-choice and you're like, well, I have a problem because the U.S. doesn't set people up for success when they don't allow them to have an abortion, or they force them to continue having this child. If your problem is the way that the U.S. handles things after a baby is born, then do something about it. Don't sit there and advocate for the murder of the unborn.
yeah.
Do something about it. If your problem is the foster care system, get involved. If your problem is that there's not enough contraceptives, get involved. If your problem is that women can't afford to have babies, get involved. Why don't you volunteer for foster care organizations? Why don't you, send clothes or supplies to shelters that take care of women who are pregnant who can't afford their babies? Why don't you get involved in the system? If your problem is the system, and that's why you're advocating for the death of the unborn, instead of killing the baby, get involved in reforming the system. Get involved in local government. Get involved in places where you can volunteer to make this world a better place, instead of saying, oh, well, because there's a problem, because there's an issue, let's just kill the baby before it's born. That's not how this works. That's not how life works. It's not how anything works.
Yeah.
You don't just, because there's a problem, we just kill the thing before it exists.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how it works.
I think it was Terrence Williams at the Twitter I was looking at, the celebrity. He was talking about how he was one of 9, and his mom gave him up for put him in the foster care system because he couldn't take care of it. They were living in poverty. And, like, one of his tweets said, I thank my mom for putting me in the foster care system and not aborting me.
Right.
Because he would not be the person that he is. He would not have had his experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, even, and this is what
there was a politician this week who came out that and I like literally could not quote her name or where she's from, but she was a black woman, and she came out and said that she had been that her mom, instead of aborting her, chose to adopt her out.
Yeah.
And she said, I would not have wanted to be aborted. Like, I'm glad that I'm alive. And that's the case for probably most people who have been adopted out. Like, they're glad that they weren't aborted, you know? So
let's just say you hear astronomically more stories of people who are glad to be alive than wish that they were dead. I don't think I know of any public figures that have said that they wish they were aborted.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and like Tim Tebow is another example of just what, and I often think about what could our world be like? What are the, because I'm a geek and a nerd. What are the technological advancements we could have? What medicine breakthroughs could we have had if we didn't have literally millions of babies murdered before they even had a chance in this world?
How many doctors have
been? How many scientists?
How many scientists have been?
How
murdered?
many people's lives have? You talk about like they meaning like those on the left. Like they talk about how this is dangerous for children if abortion is illegal, or it's dangerous for women. People are going to die. It's always people are going to die when they don't get their way. People are going to die. How many people have died? How many people have never had a chance to live past, their ailments, their sickness, their disease, because the person that was going to cure it was aborted.
Right.
Because the person that was going to come out with this advancement was aborted.
Right. And the fact is that abortion is never going to promote life ever, because it begins, people say like, oh, it's going to help the mother who can't afford to have another child. No, it's not. It's not going to help the mother who can't afford to have another child, because if that mother really can't afford to have another child, she can definitely adopt her child out. There are so many people in this country.
If
who
anything,
do not
it
have
teaches
babies.
that mother that she has no consequences for her actions.
Right. And that's the thing is, like, most people who receive abortions, they're not receiving them because they need them. It's not a medical necessity. It's not a rape or incest situation. Most women who receive abortions are women who do it out of convenience. But here's the thing. If you have to degrade life in order to justify your opinion, then you are wrong. If you have to dehumanize a baby in order to justify your opinion, then you are wrong. If you're disregarding life, you are wrong. At the end of the day, you are wrong. Point blank.
And
I don't care who you are.
Honestly, as disgusting and as hard it is to take in, to swallow, the only people that I can get on board with, not even get on board because it's just so disgusting, but the only people like I can see having somewhat of a valid argument is that they just don't care, right? They acknowledge that the baby is a baby and they just don't care. They just feel like they can kill it anyway. Like, they don't care it's a life. They don't care that it's, a baby. They just think that the abortion is fine. Like, at least you're owning your opinion. At least you're owning it, right? At least you're not changing the facts. You're not changing science. You're not changing what is plain and simple to validate your opinion. At least you just acknowledge that what you're doing is killing. So, I mean, like, at least that's somewhat of an opinion.
Speaking of killing in the U.S., I believe Americans have been slowly killing Disney.
Yeah, you want to talk about that real quick? We're at 43 minutes.
Let's throw that in there because we want to get these moms out so they can enjoy the rest of their Mother's Day.
Yeah. Talking about this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this was about a month ago, but I thought it was really interesting. We can contrast it with something that was in the news recently. So Fantastic Beasts. I don't know nothing about the lore.
You don't know nothing?
I don't know nothing.
You don't know anything?
I'm definitely getting that Adams language in there. I don't know anything about the lore of Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts and any of that. But this is the third of the franchise, Fantastic Beasts, and there was a homosexual reference in the film. And
yeah, I think I think isn't Dumbledore supposed to be gay?
Yeah, I don't know. I see. Like that's why I said I'm gonna set this up with being as ignorant as I possibly can be because I don't know anything.
Well, I'm not sure what
I
the
want to
reference is
say
in the
that I want
movie.
to say that you're right, but anyways, there are some homosexual references in the movie, and China made a big deal about it. China said we're not going to play this movie in our theaters.
Yeah, I believe they made according to the Daily Wire, they made a passing reference to Dumbledore being homosexual.
Okay. So,
6 seconds.
so Disney's response was to omit the 6 seconds. You just said 6 seconds was to omit the 6 seconds, any great gay references, so that they can play it in China.
Now, are you talking about the same Disney who threw a big fit because Florida doesn't want you indoctrinating their children on their sexual preferences?
Yes, this is the same Disney. This isn't
This is
like
the same Disney who doesn't want
Right.
people talking about how they're pansexual or transsexual or over the rainbow sexual.
right. This isn't
in
the
school.
Aldi brand of Disney. This is actual
This
Disney.
is actual
Yeah,
Disney. This
yeah.
is actual Disney who is protesting the don't say gay bill, as they call it,
Yeah.
and saying that they were going to continue to indoctrinate children.
Right.
That's the same Disney.
The same Disney that said that not only did they come out against this bill, but that they were going to do everything in their power to repeal it.
And
So
they
they-
were going to disobey it.
Yep.
The same that Disney,
Yep.
the gay advocating Disney, that Disney.
Well, I don't think they're gay advocating.
Well, they're not gay advocating in China,
No.
only in America.
Only in America.
Oh.
Only when it doesn't hurt the wallet.
Oh,
That's I think that's
okay.
it.
Okay, only when it doesn't cost them money.
Right.
Is that what it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like so confused. I'm like, how could Disney,
Yeah.
the gay parade of
Yeah.
Disney, take 6 seconds out for China
Yeah.
so that their film could be played in China? Because,
Yeah. So like it's just the point. The point is if you
it's
follow,
not a hill they want to die on.
it's not a hill they want to die on, and if this is why corporations and talking about it from a business point of view, this is why you don't get involved in political issues. This is why you stay out of political issues, because eventually it will hurt your wallet. Eventually it will hurt profits, because you are going to have to make a decision that either you have to uphold your position or you have to cave. And
Speaking of upholding the position,
yes, there are corporations that apparently are upholding their position, which I am very, very surprised and very happy
Pleased.
about. Very pleased. Sony, on the other hand, another a Marvel film that is not made by Disney. Sony has the rights to Spider-Man. So anything that, anything that Spider-Man has to do with a movie. So film, not necessarily TV, games, or anything like that. But if it has to do with movies, Sony has the rights.
basically, if it has to do with Tom Holland.
Yeah, anything movie related in Spider-Man, Sony has the rights to, and so Sony distributed Spider-Man: No Way Home, and China also had a problem with.
I love how you just said distributed by saying distributed.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Distributed.
Yeah, you said distributed.
I said distributed. Yeah, they distributed, they produced, they did.
You're really working on your country lingo today.
Yeah, I am. I'm going full country. Going full country.
It's gone country.
That's what happens when I hang out with your cousin,
Look at them
who talks like a hick.
boots, sir. Are you talking about the cousin you were with today who says breakfast?
Yeah.
If you're watching this, you know who you are,
Yeah.
Mr. Breakfast instead of breakfast.
Yes,
or
that is
something instead of something.
that is the cousin.
Who from New York says something? This is not Alabama. I would expect that in Alabama.
Anyways,
something.
Anyway, so Sony decides not to cave for China. China wanted them to take out the Statue of Liberty in Spider-Man: No Way Home.
We'll say as little about the Statue of Liberty being in the movie as possible,
Yeah.
just in case you haven't seen it.
Yep. And it says, according to Daily Wire, Chinese regulators, China's National Film Administration, answers to the Chinese Communist Party, said that they were bothered by the patriotic scenes in the movie's climactic action sequence at the Statue of Liberty. So there's an action sequence that shows the Statue of Liberty, and they said it was too patriotic.
Yep. So they first said Sony had to take it out.
Yep.
And then when Sony refused, they then said, if you darken it so that the Statue of Liberty is less apparent,
Yeah.
then they would also take that. And Sony was like, up yours, China.
Yeah. Yeah.
And still, amazingly enough, after they upped yours, China, Spider-Man No Way Home still came in as the third largest movie in existence. Like money.
Really? Third highest grossing?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
So they fall,
I know that it got over $1 billion still.
they fall just behind one of the Avengers movies.
Yeah.
And
Endgame, I think.
there's another one that's ahead of it. There's an Avengers movie, and there's another movie.
I should know this.
Look at them boots. All I can think of is that country song now. Holy cow!
Where do I go?
Top grossing movies is what we need to know.
Worldwide, all-time worldwide.
All times.
So there's Avatar. Oh, Spider-Man
No.
No Way Home is number 6.
No, I don't think it is anymore. Is this like
This
is this updated?
Yeah, it's they update
no,
it all the
I
time.
remember they said it fell just behind Avengers Endgame and Star Wars Force Awakens.
Yeah. So
Go back to, is it in the article? That's weird because I know that it said it was number 3.
maybe it's number
the
3.
thing I was reading.
Maybe it's number 3 grossing and domestic. Let's see. Yes.
Oh, it's number 3 domestic and number 6 worldwide.
yeah.
Oh, okay, that's what.
So
it is.
that's pretty crazy that, and let's see. Let's go all-time worldwide. So it's number 6.
Mhm.
Avengers Infinity War, definitely China. Star Wars, Force Awakens, definitely China. Avengers Endgame, China. Avatar, China. I have no idea if Titanic was in China.
No, man, Titanic was all of the American women who went to go see it 5 or 6 times because Leonardo DiCaprio was so good looking and the movie was so sad.
But I have no idea if Titanic was released in
You
China.
know who you are.
But I guarantee you it probably was. So out of the 5 other movies ahead of it, it had a China audience, Chinese audience.
But the thing is, like, it didn't even fall. I mean, like, it's only what, 200 million behind Avengers. Not
Yeah.
even less than 200. Like, it's less than like 160, less than 160 million behind.
Oops, made that too big.
Behind Infinity War. So, like, I mean, it's not even like it's not even like it's that far behind. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at Avatar, it's pretty far behind Avatar.
Yeah.
But it is not that far behind, like, some of the movies that it falls close to. Like Star Wars, Force Awakens, Avengers, Infinity War is like, it's not that far behind.
Right. Right.
Crazy.
And all this has inflation accounted for. So
Can't-
Titanic definitely did not get $2.2 billion, but with
right,
inflation they did.
Right, it takes that into consideration.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Good times. So, yeah, that's interesting. So, yeah, go Sony.
Yeah.
Down with Disney.
Down with Disney.
Boo Disney.
Yeah.
Who's not saying gay now? Disney in China. Boom. I'm sorry. It's Mother's Day. I have a reason to be hyped up.
We wanted to make this a shorter episode.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a short episode, so just cut everything that we talked about, and then
Let's get out of here with a
rec.
With a rec.
My rec for this week: Velveeta. I gotta look at and see exactly what they're called because I just eat them. Velveeta breakfast biscuits. Let me tell you what.
Breakfast biscuits.
breakfast biscuits. Oh boy, that's painful. So Velveeta breakfast biscuits. I eat them all the time. They're so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're literally delicious.
You
They're amazing.
like the
They're
blueberry ones? I like the cinnamon ones.
I do. I love the blueberry ones, and you're supposed to. It's like it says like that it keeps you full for 4 hours, and that's like not even a joke. That's why I eat them every 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I spend so much money on them. I'm not even kidding. I like every time I open one, you're like, how many have you had today? I'll be like, this is my third one.
Maybe when we're famous, Velveeta will see this archived
Yes.
episode. They'll be like
they'll
tagged
be a
in it,
sponsor.
and then they could either be a sponsor or they could ask you to do a commercial, and then you'll just mess
Yeah.
up the commercial on purpose so you can keep eating them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, oh shoot. Well, line.
Be
Line.
be like, perfect. Every last bite.
Yeah,
Can we get a louder crunch? Perfect. Every last bite. Can we get a louder crunch, please?
Yeah. then that would be the dream.
Yeah.
I tell you what, some people want to get famous. I just want to be in a Velveeta commercial so I can eat more of their biscuits.
Oh man.
And by biscuits, they're not like it's not like a Pillsbury biscuit. It's
They're like a thin
they're
wafer.
they're like a thin. It's kind of similar to like a. It's not really a wafer, but it's like
No,
it's a thin biscuit,
Yeah.
and they have chunks of blueberries in them, and they are delicious. And let me tell you what, if you buy them in bulk and then you don't like them, you can drop them off to me.
Yeah.
PM me for directions.
Yep.
To the meeting place.
Anyways, my wreck. What was my wreck?
Runnings.
Oh yeah, dude. So we went to Runnings today. They shop for Mother's Day, and
We went to Runnings yesterday.
oh no, yeah, we went to Runnings yesterday. Shop for Mother's Day, and I just gotta say, man, I did not think that store had a place.
You thought it was a country bumpkin store.
I thought it was
Country
just
bumpkin
a
store.
lame store. But
Yeah.
then I stepped in and I was like, wow, this is the perfect blend of like Home Depot, Gander, gun store. Like
Yeah.
it's just I
It
could
has
spend
something for everybody.
it has something for everybody, and I could spend a lot of money there. And I think
Yeah.
I think maybe I'm just getting a little older.
Yeah, you had to make me walk away from the dog section because
Yeah.
I was ready to throw down like $100 on
That
new
was the other thing
harnesses and
is that the
leashes
brands
and
the brands that they have of stuff seem to be like the better
Quality.
brands, like the quality stuff.
they have a whole DeWalt section. Remember, I was like, what is this for? And then I'm like, oh, it was a car hood light.
Yeah.
Like it attaches to your car hood, so you can work on you can work on the car, and like the lights attached to the hood. And I was like, this is so cool. I don't have any use for it, but it's really cool because I would just buy it and be like, yeah, if I ever need it.
I feel like that's the majority of the tools that you
That's
have.
not even how you change your own oil. If I never had to change my radiator,
Well, I mean, you could change your oil and then you check it. You can just,
I've
you
ever
can
had
have the
to check
lights
my
just
oil.
to check it.
and just like put the light up there so I can check my
Yeah.
oil. Oh, let me pull out my dipstick. The light.
Yeah.
I can see my oil. I am.
You went a little Indian there. I could see my oil.
I was not doing it purposely. I just got so excited about the light. So, anyways, Runnings,
Yeah, running.
top
Yeah,
notch.
yeah. So if you've
I
never
took over your wreck.
if you've never been, check it out.
Find one
Make sure you don't bring your credit cards. Yeah,
because they'll
just-
sign you up for one.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Get your store card.
All right.
Happy
Well,
Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
You beautiful women. We love
Yeah.
you.
Take care, guys.